Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Common Knowledge Podcast. This is episode 59. I'm your host, Brandon, and joining with me, as always, is my fellow cohort. He's my cohort. He's my Sean. He my Lobbert.
What's up? I've been really good. Like yesterday, so I got nominated for this thing at work that was, you're nominated, and then out of like 500 people, they choose 50 for like an all expenses paid Hawaiian vacation, and I didn't win, but I was super close.
You were nominated, though.
It's like 1 in 10 of just week of paid vacation and all expenses paid. So close.
That would have been so sweet.
How have you been?
Good. It's midterms all this week. And I've got pretty much all of them done now, except I've got one more midterm next week.
You know what that means?
What?
Parent-teacher conference.
Oh, no. Those were the worst.
Yeah.
I hated those. And my parents got to find out what a little demon I was.
I remember going, and then my mom ended up getting mad at one of the... She'd get mad at a lot of teachers. So I guess my mom's pretty cool.
Not me. My mom would get home from parent-teacher conferences and beat me. Just like, what the hell are you doing? She'd like send me to school the next day with like apology letters to all my various teachers.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
for all my vastly different kids.
For all my malfeasance.
Yeah.
I was a horrible little kid.
I've always...
Like, I wasn't like malicious. Like, I wasn't like mean. I was just like out of control. Like,
just so much energy. Yeah,
like,
you've always been like that.
In the corner and like running around and like just all sorts of stuff. You know, but I wasn't like out to like, I wasn't that kid who was like thinking of ways I could like mentally torture my teacher.
But you were.
Just out of control. Anyway, yeah, we're Magic the Gathering podcast about the Pauper format, and today we're talking power rankings for the month of February.
Yep, and we have some business to attend to first. So there's an announcement for not the show, but just in general for Magic, and I wanted to talk about that here. You have most of the information.
There's been a lot of announcements, but this is the one announcement I told Sean about.
Okay, well, if you have any other ones that pertain to Pauper, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I don't
None
pay.
Of them do.
Okay, I don't pay attention.
Magic Twitter has just been an absolute just fuster cluck. But, and then amidst all of the chaos that is Magic Twitter news and all the stuff happening in the Magic world right now, Wizards drops this announcement on us, and everyone's just like, how do we even process this? But
Magic players know how to process everything. You just hate it.
The announcement that we're talking about is the Modern Horizons, which is a like 290 card set. It is not going to be a standard set, and all the cards in it are going to be Modern legal. So everything printed into this set will be legal in Modern, but there are no Modern legal reprints. So that's one thing that does have people up in arms is my first lands and my Murder Murphy for verses are expensive.
I feel like those are decently cheap now that I think this is just, it's fine. I really like this. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So they are going to do reprints in this set, but they're not anything that's currently legal in the Modern format. So we're talking about cards that are in Legacy. I mean, even cards that were printed in like supplemental Commander products. True Name Nemesis could be in the set for all we know. And then of course they're going to be printing a lot of new cards. But the reason we wanted to announce this on the show and talk about it, in case listeners haven't heard about this, is this might be a really cool opportunity for Wizards to put some sweet new toys in the Pauper format.
Yeah. You said they spoiled like one common so far, and by the time
it's not a common. That was just the only. I just said the only card they've spoiled so far. I think it's a rare.
Okay, but then they haven't spoiled any commons. I don't know how fast they plan on spoiling these. We could just have a.
Oh, this set's not coming out until like after the next Pro Tour, which is in like 3. This set's like 5 months. This set's like 5 months away or something.
Okay, good. Because I don't want to.
This set's never coming.
What set did they like announce and then spoil everything in a week and then just release it? Because that was heck for me.
Was that like the most recent Masters set or something?
Yeah.
One of the supplemental Masters sets I think that they did, where it was just like we had like 0 information and then all of a sudden we had all the information and we're just like, whoa.
Yeah, and our release schedule got weird. Anyway, I'm super psyched for this, and you mentioned this before the show, they are probably thinking of Pauper now. Like, they've said that they want to start thinking about our format. This is a way to get stuff into our format.
Yeah,
the power level of our format is not like, can it be printed into Modern? Like, that's not going to be an issue. So they can just straight up put things in here for us.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think this is an awesome opportunity for Wizards to introduce cards into Modern, new cards into Modern, to keep that format fresh without having to like be concerned about Standard. It's an excellent opportunity for them to reprint cards for Legacy and Commander, and it's also just a prime opportunity for them to give us a few things too. And since Gavin Verhey has on multiple occasions said, like, Pauper is something that we think about now, and like, my greatest regret as a game designer is when I printed Battle Bond, it was like right before the Pauper craze, and so I literally didn't think about the format at all. So now that like we've got people in R&D that are concerned at least enough to think about Pauper, I think there's a good chance we're going to get some really sweet stuff, like 1 or 2 really sweet things.
Yeah, they've got to fill common slots with something, and there's a lot to improve on in our format. So
I'm heckin' excited.
Yep. I don't have anything else to say about it, and we've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. So this is Power Rankings, which means we are not going to be having a card of the week because we will be doing the What Are We Playing segment.
What are we playing?
Our monthly segment where we talk about the deck that we've been playing all month and, tips for people who want to pick the deck up, if we would recommend it, what changes we might make, just etc. How we did, all that stuff.
Okay.
So let's get into it.
I'll start because mine's going to be short. I attempted to play Tron this month, and I hated Blue-Red Tron, and I hated Rejuvenator Tron, and maybe, like, if I had to keep playing the deck, I might go back to Teamer Tron, so I could play my Ancient Stirrings and crop rotations and stuff, like Fangren and Marauder, like go back to the artifacty version, because I was just at my wit's end trying to Ghostly Flicker over and over and over. Like, I just hated it. And spoilers, it was reflected in our power rankings. It didn't do well. Like, I guess Morozatron did okay.
Your hatred for the deck is what caused its demise.
No, but
Sean
I know at least
the deck to do poorly.
Blue-Red Tron, I know did bad this month, and I really didn't like where that was. Anyway,
yeah,
I'm not big on Tron right now myself, but I can't stand Ghostly Flickering, so maybe that's my deal.
So that aside, is this something that you would recommend to the listeners pick up? Like, if this is their thing, do you think that this deck is particularly well placed right now?
Honestly, no.
I agree.
I mean, I've been playing leagues, competitive leagues, and I played a competitive league, I think I tweeted about it last night, where I played a Boros game and then 4 games in a row of Blue-Black Delver, and they were just on hot starts where they topped out at 3 lands and just kept making land drops every turn because of Daze and Gush and just drawn hot, and like it just felt like if I had to cast a 5-mana spell into this, there's no way. There's just no way.
Okay. Yeah, I think I kind of have similar feelings, but I've never played the deck, so. Like you, my experience with the deck I played is also reflected in the power rankings. I played Red-Black Monarch, and I thought that deck was great. I liked it a lot. So naturally, it doesn't show up anywhere in our power rankings this month.
I think I know why.
Okay, I'd be curious to hear why. Oh, I think I might know why too.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
So, this deck is incredibly slow, first off. Like, you don't expect to ever have a quick start with this deck, because you're just not. You're just not going to get one. The thing, though, that this deck does very well is draw the game out for very, very long. Like, it's just really good at making the game last a long time between, chittering rats sort of pseudo time walking your opponent with their draw steps, and, kind of just rip their hand apart. But you don't really have any good, powerful threats to end the game, so you're just kind of like slowly grinding them down until you can get a Gurmag Angler into play and win the game, or just overwhelm them so much on cards that they can't do anything else. But that said, the biggest change I would want to make to this deck right now is the lands. I really don't like Rakdos Carnarium.
Huh, okay.
I found that the biggest issue that I had with this deck was flooding, because my games would go 12, 15 turns, and you would just end up drawing so many lands. And especially when you've got Ravnica Bounce lands in your deck, when you draw a Ravnica Bounce land, it feels like you've just drawn 2 lands. And it comes into play tapped, it slows you down on tempo. Like, a lot of time you just don't even want to play it when you get to those later parts in the game. And so it's kind of just like a dead draw. So one of the changes that I made to the deck was cutting lands. So I just cut down to 21 from 22, and I just cut 1 Rakdos Carnarium just to see how it would go. The other thing is that this deck cannot beat Battle Screech at all. Like, you just can't beat that card. And so I cut every single copy of Chainer's Edict from my 75. Like, that card is just abysmally bad right now. And then I put in 1 Flame Slash and 3 copies of Echoing Decay. And that kind of made things a lot better too. But
I've been finding that same thing even in my like control-y, like I'll try to like brew something that's black and really slow or something, and Chainer's Edict doesn't even work in there. Like, I've been working on the Jund brew every once in a while, and I actually started, like, I cut down and then I just turned them into Diabolic Edicts so that I could cast them at instant speed and maybe pick up a little bit of tempo that way, being able to cast it on end step. Chainer's Edict is just so bad right now.
Yeah, they're not good in almost any matchup right now. Monarch, it's picking off Thraben Inspector.
Yeah.
Against Delver, it's taking a Gurmag Angler.
No, it's taking an Augur of Bolas.
What did I say?
Gurmag Angler. That would be optimal.
Oh, that's best case scenario.
Yeah.
I was totally thinking Augur of Bolas. I don't know why I said Gurmag Angler. But yeah, like, that's usually just what happens, is it takes away the card that is pretty much irrelevant, that it already replaced itself somehow, and it just feels so bad. Yeah, I didn't ever play the Burn matchup, but I imagine that it's abysmal.
Yeah,
but
I can attest to that.
Yeah, my League experiences were really similar to yours, where it was like I would play against like a mix of Boros and Delver. And then, like, every once in a while, there'd be something else thrown in there. Like, I think I played one competitive league where I played, like, 2 Boros decks, 2 Delver decks, and then I played against Elves. And then I played another league where I played 4 Blue-Black Delver decks, 1 Boros Monarch deck. And this Boros Monitor deck was interesting. It had Volshock, the Morning Star, in it. Do you know what that is? The equipment?
Yeah,
Plus two,
two for 2 and then 2 to equip. Yeah.
That felt like a really good matchup for me, despite the fact that I don't think this deck is favored against Boros, because they would do things like Thraben Inspector on turn 1, Volshock on turn 2, turn 3, equip, Lightning Bolt. All right, play tap land, go. And I'm just like, okay, Chittering Rats. They're like, okay, untap. Play my 4th land, play a creature, equip it. I'm like, okay, untap. Terminate it.
Yeah, it's a 5 mana minimum.
Yeah. That card wasn't good. But anyway, I don't think I have anything else about that deck. If a listener were to pick the deck up, I think I would recommend it. The deck does very well against Delver. You have a fighting chance against Monarch decks, especially after the changes I made. Cutting down on the land, adding in Echoing Decays and like a Flame Slash was really helpful. Flame Slash was great, being able to kill Sentinel and stuff, but otherwise you just really struggle against decks that can go fast.
Yeah, I imagine you'd like never get to play your Monarch, or
yeah, there are situations where you just have like 2 copies of Black Rose in your hand and just cannot cast it. And if you do cast it, it's like a Hail Mary, like draw 1 card and hope it's Exodia.
All 5 pieces.
Yeah, all 5 pieces. But then it's not, and you lose. So I think that putting in Echoing Decay helped a lot with a lot of the problems I was having with it. Another change that I do want to make that I didn't get a chance to test is completely cutting Rakdos Carnarium from the deck and adding in like an Evolving Wilds Terramorphic Expanse package. You still get to fix your mana fine. You're not super concerned about the land coming into play tapped, and it helps fill Gurmag Angler, because that was another problem this deck has too. It doesn't fill the graveyard very quickly, and so you're not playing Gurmag Angler until like turn 5 or 6 usually, and having like a Terramorphic Expanse or Evolving Wilds would like help sometimes be the difference between turn 4 and turn 5 when you're casting Gurmag Angler.
Okay, my initial thought was that I know the color weight in that deck is really, really high. Like, you want to be able to activate, I don't know, your 1 copy of Crypt Rats isn't that big of a deal, but your Liliana's Spectre and your Chittering Rats are both, 2 black pips. So
yeah,
it's
that's
hard
why I think it's fine. That's why I think it's still okay though if you do Evolving Wilds, because you like early in the game you do need to get your black pips, but you really only need like 1 red source for the beginning part of the game. And then once you hit like turn 5 is when you usually want to hit your 2nd red source, so you can, turn 4, turn 5, so you can start double spelling where you're like cast Chittering Rats, Lightning Bolt, or something like that. I think that Evolving Wilds might be okay. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to test it, so I could just be wrong. But the Rakdos Carnariums felt really bad. I think that like cards like Evolving Wilds and dropping the land count down to like 21 from 22 would go a long way to helping this deck mitigate its flood.
You ready to get into it?
Yep, let's do it. February Power Rankings.
Main topic.
All right, so
I want to start with number 1.
All right. Sean's excited about number 1.
I was thinking about it and I'm like, so I'm just going to let you know, it's 57 points with Burn. And
where's all the Burn gone?
Yeah, Burn disappeared in December. And then we kind of like were in January, we were like, Burn still seems pretty good. Like I've been keeping track of all my stats with Burn, and the stats look really good. My win rate's at about 60%, and I know that I haven't lost a game against Red Black Monarch, and I think I have 4 games logged. Elves is like 75% favorable. Affinities like 70% favorable. Tron is like 80-90% favorable, but then Blue Black Delver, I win 1/3 of my games.
Yeah, I remember that was something that in the beginning of Blue Black Delver, we just assumed that Burn was a bad matchup for it.
Yeah.
And the more I've played Blue Black Delver, the more I'm just like, every time my opponent goes like Mountain Gitu Lava Runner go, I'm just like, oh man, I'm in for it. And then all of a sudden, 4 turns later, I'm just like, that
This
was
doesn't
easy.
hurt. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's so that Blue Black Delver is stupid.
Yeah, it's just got enough counter spells, and Daze hurts really bad for a deck that wants to top out at 3
and
lands.
they're main decking Dispel. That card is so powerful against Burn.
Yeah.
Like, they've just got so many tools against you, and then they sideboard into Hydroblasts and more Dispels.
Yeah, the game 1 is actually pretty winnable, and then game 2 is just close to unwinnable.
You've kind of got to like take game 1 every time, and then hope to get him on game 3 when you're on the play.
Yeah, I never won a game that I lost game 1.
That makes sense.
And Spell Pierces. Oh my gosh, there was a guy running around with Spell Pierces. That hurt.
Alex Ullman did say Spell Pierces on the hot list right now of cards to look out for. Like,
one quick thing. I know that we usually do this earlier, but I did play against a patron on just what's it called? Tournament practice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played against him in the tournament practice room. It was JD Jensen. I know that he comments on YouTube sometimes, and I like read his name and I was like, that's kind of familiar. And then like he started talking, and I don't know, it was pretty fun. So shout out to that guy. He mentioned the podcast.
How do you always get paired against listeners?
I play way more games than you, I think.
Yeah, but I've also been paired with like 3 times the amount of D-holes as you have. So, I don't get it.
I don't know. You bring out that in people everywhere you go, and I don't know how you do that.
I don't know. I don't even like say anything to people online.
Maybe you just play like a scumbag. I don't know.
Play like a scumbag.
Yeah.
Maybe I do. I don't know. All right. So yeah, that was the first place. 57 points is Burn. And second place, I don't think anyone will be surprised, with 54 points, we've got Blue Black Delver.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. One real quick thing. The reason we were saying Red Black Monarch, it's obviously not on here, is because Burn is the number 1 deck. If Burn shows up in those numbers, that deck is just not going to win, because it just doesn't lose.
Burn had an incredible showing this month. They had 7 top 8s, 7 top 8 finishes, and they were the most represented deck with top 32 finishes as well. The second place deck in terms of finishes, like representation, was Boros Monarch, and Blue Black Delver was actually not very well represented. It just, every time it showed up, it was in the top 8 or winning the challenge. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Take that information however you want, but that's what we had. So
it feels like in the competitive leagues as well, there's not a ton of people playing Blue Black Delver, but they're just grinding a lot of games. Like, I remember I stayed up till 3 a.m. playing, and I woke up in the morning and logged on at 10 a.m. and I played against the same guy. Like, I was so mad. Like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll wake up and I'll get a different matchup, and it was literally the same person.
Yeah, one of the league that I was telling you about that I played 4 blue black decks, it was the same person. And that was also over the course of, like, I played 2 matches against him in one night, and then I, like, went to bed, and, like, the next evening, you know, I played against the Monarch matchup, and then I played against that opponent twice in a row again. So I played against him 4 times in one league.
there's something weird going on with the queues, I think. Like, there's some kind of algorithm that is messed up on the back end.
Get your tinfoil hats out, folks.
Okay. It shouldn't be
Connor's broken!
Okay, it shouldn't be that I find an opponent and he says, I've been waiting for 20 minutes for an opponent. I had been waiting for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Why weren't we just paired?
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Yeah, it could be broken. Honestly, you know what it could be? Is Wizards is intentionally increasing the wait times to draw people away from MTGO so that they'll go play Arena instead. I bet that's what it is. It's Arena. They're trying to kill Magic Online, man. They're trying to kill all the Eternal formats so that everyone just plays Standard and Arena and buys Standard cards. It's a conspiracy, man.
I need to put on more tinfoil clothes for that one.
I think I'm out of tinfoil. I gotta go to the store and get some more.
Get some aluminium. Anyway.
Aluminium hats.
51 points. Boros Monarch. Nah,
not the Boros Bully.
Yeah.
This is OG, the Monarch.
Yeah. It looks like Boros Bully is sticking around, but Monarch is still king.
Yeah.
As far as Monarch decks go, Boros Monarch is.
I'm curious about why that is.
Is it just better at grinding?
I think that's probably it.
It's not trying to be so aggressive. That's what I would say.
Is that maybe trying to be overly aggressive right now isn't what you want to be doing? Perhaps, mayhaps, I don't know.
Maybe. That's hard to speak to since I don't play Bully.
That's an interesting question. That's Boros Bully, 51 points. So those were the top 3 decks this month. Burn, Blue Black Delver, Boros Monarch. 4th place on 25 points, so a pretty big gap. We've got Marasa Tron. And I will note that there was one Rug Tron deck, and I just kind of lumped them together as just Tron. Like it had Pulse and Marasa in it, so same. But
good.
Like it was Rug, like Kevrick's Torch, the 5/5 guy. What's his name? I gained your life. Finger Marauder, yeah. Like it was.
Okay.
It was full on, Rug Tron, but the rest were all just your typical run of the mill Marasa Trons. Tons of 1-ofs, tons of nonsense, ghostly flickers.
I was gonna say that it is basically the same. You have a different package of spells if you're just running the Rolling Thunder type package. But like when you put Fangor and Marauder in there, it is pretty different. But I'm all in favor of grouping decks together like that.
Yeah, I think it's fine here. Next on 23 points is Blue Delver.
This deck seems decently strong right now. It's still hanging in there. It's doing a lot better than Scred is.
This makes me so sad. I love Scred Delver.
Seriously, I've probably said this before. I never thought that I would miss having Scred Delver as the top deck. Because, like, you can brew ways to, like, deal 2 damage repeatedly. You can't really do that with Blue-Black Delver. And, I don't know, my 4th game into just chaining together Blue-Black Delver matchups, I was just like, okay. But that might also just be because my matchup is really bad. And I could probably fix that by playing a different deck.
Yeah.
It's obviously, like, I think there was, when it first spiked and we were hyperbolic about it, like, like we do. And now it's like at a fairly normal level. But we were talking about before the show how we feel like there's a lot less decks on this list. And it's kind of just consolidating into the top few.
Mm-hmm. I think that's even just apparent by the disparity in points. 57, 54, 51, 25.
And then you've got this little run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decks. So you got 7 decks that are in it is 25 to 12 point range. And then there's another big drop into the like these people just had one deck show up type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Blue Delver is actually a very interesting one, though. We've talked about before in the past how we like bounce spells at the moment. The premier bounce spell in Blue Delver is Snap, obviously because of the synergy with Spellsetter Sprite. But Alex Ullman actually put out an article, which I sort of alluded to earlier, talking about another card.
Spell Pierce?
Spell Pierce, yeah. Spell Pierce was on. I think Spell Pierce was on his list. I hope it is. Anyway, I do know for certain, though, that another card on that list was Spellsetter Sprite and Vapor Snag. And so maybe now would be an interesting time to put Vapor Snags into your Blue Delver deck as really cheap ways to deal with Gurmag Anglers and such. Alex even, I think, advocated for putting them in Blue Black Delvers for like a Mirror Breaker. Just like as a way to deal with Gurmag Angler from your opponent.
I wonder what... Oh, I guess it's more daze resistant because you're not paying 2 up front, you're paying 1 up front.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the difference between 1 and 2 is really big. Obviously, Snap has that synergy with Spellsetter Sprite that's really important for Blue Delver, but I think you could maybe make room for 1 or 2 Vapor Snags. But but Spellsetter Sprite is one of those cards that it feels really good right now, except against Blue Black Delver.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Like, I mean, I think that card's abysmal against Blue Black Delver, but it feels really good against a lot of the other decks that are doing well right now. You know, I like it against the Monarch decks. I like it against Burn. Yeah, I think now's probably a good time to have your Spellsetter Sprites if that's what you're into. And I really like the idea of playing more bounce, playing like Vapor Snag alongside your snaps to kind of help with that blue-black matchup.
I thought they already allocated like 5 slots to it with like 4 snaps and a Vapor Snag. Maybe they were had cut down more than that.
I feel like I don't see Vapor Snag very often.
But I think 4-ish is the right number of bounce spells that you want to play.
Yeah, I like doing like 4 snaps, 1 to 2 Vapor Snags.
Okay.
6th place?
Yes.
Yeah, 6th place. 21 points. Boros Bully.
Yeah, I still have never seen this. I've still never played against this deck. I don't know. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, kind of. I've played against it.
Okay, so you're the expert.
I think that honestly, actually, the Volshock deck I played against was a bully deck. It was, yeah, because they had Squadron Hawk. But I don't know. I think this deck's really good.
I've already forgotten. Volshock what? Oh, the Morningstar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a Boros bully deck that I had played against that had it, because I do remember them now having a never-ending stream of Squadron Hawks to put it on. But I think this deck is really good, and I'm really confused why it's so low. I don't know the answer.
Maybe it just shares a player pool with Monarch. Like those same people have to just choose between Monarch. The decks, and they just play Monarch.
I mean,
I don't know.
I get that makes sense, but they would have to have a reason, and I'm imagining that, like, I don't know, the reason could just be sentimental value, just like I like this deck more. But I imagine that
if it was better, I think they would switch to bully.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what my point is, that like there's a good reason that everyone's playing Monarch and not playing bully, and I don't know the answer because I don't have I just don't know. I think it could have something to do with the amount of graveyard hate that runs around. Bully is a lot more susceptible to graveyard hate than Monarch is.
That's true. I just don't like trying to be so aggressive in that strategy.
Yeah, they have a lot less card advantage, so I could see like them getting ground down on resources a lot easier, whereas Monarch always seems to just have like this continuous slow stream of cards.
like 1 spell a turn, 2 spells a turn, 1 spell a turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like play my thing, rebuy my thing. Next turn, replay my thing, play a creature to rebuy it again. And it just kind of never, it just is this slow steam engine just
More
going.
powerful threats in the air too, I think, help so that you don't get stuck on the ground.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's got to be my best guess.
Yeah, and yeah, just to the listeners, we are kind of just guessing here, since I don't think either of us are. I haven't played against it enough to like get a feel for like, okay, it does this to me, it would do this to this other deck. Like, I'm just looking at a list and trying to extrapolate based on numbers, and that's really hard.
Yeah, and I've definitely played against Boros Monarch a lot more than I've played against Bully. So I kind of had an idea going into power rankings that Monarch was going to be more represented. Because I do play against that deck a lot more often than I do play against the Bully version. But I don't know. Maybe that'll be the deck I play this month is Bully. Try to figure out what's going on with that.
Oh, wait, I did play one game. I just remembered I played one game against Bully when I was playing Burn. And I remember just like fist pumping because it just felt so much easier. Like killing a...
Really? Even with Lone Missionary?
What's the Secret of the Way?
Lone Missionary.
You tried to throw me off.
I did.
Yes, I just shot the Seeker of the Way, and they didn't have that constant stream of cards as much. And that, I feel like that just gave me the edge I needed. Like,
okay,
the aggression didn't work, and if they're trying to grind, they don't grind as well.
They don't grind, and they're not aggressive enough. They don't have enough to like slog through a lot of removal.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, 7th place, Elves. And this is a deck that I'm a little more familiar with. I just think this deck is just fine. Like, It's not... I mean, it's impressive. Like, if you watch someone solitaire their deck, it's impressive. Like, I still will stick by it. Elves does the most powerful thing in this format when it's not interacted with, but it's still just easy to interact with. I just think it's fine. Like, it's consistent. It has good tools to fight against decks to protect itself, but it still can just get run over by enough sideboard hate. You know, if your opponent's packing a lot of removal, you're going to struggle, but this deck's just fine.
Yeah, it's still here because it's just resilient enough to the top couple stuff. I know. Have we talked about the Delver, the blue-black Delver and Elves matchup? I don't know what that's like.
I've never played the matchup, so I'm trying to like run it through my head, just like based on my experience playing both decks.
I feel like
I would imagine that blue-black. I would imagine blue-black is favored.
Yeah, same.
You know, they've
just got enough removal. They can counter key
spells. They augur bullets to make your 1/1s useless. They've got enough pinpoint removal to just take care of your cards that matter. You know, take care of your Priests of Titanias, your Vanguards, your Timberwatch Elf. You know, and then they've got foil for your Distant Melodies and your Lead the Stamp. So
if I'm thinking about it, it's probably close. That's like one of the close to 50-50. We know blue-black Delver has the tools, but if they don't draw them or they're having to deal with something,
they have an awkward draw, and Elves can just
capitalize
on stuff. Yeah, Elves is like one of those decks that if you kind of stumble, like it's like that. It's a deck that goes from like 0 to 100 within like a turn. So like their board is like basically empty, and you think that like, okay, I don't need to hold up my counter spell here, and then all of a sudden they're just like elf, tap Priest of Titania for a bunch of mana, untap it, tap it again, lead the stampede, blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden they just have like 20 creatures in play and a full grip of cards, and you're just like, well,
yeah,
I'm in danger.
It does help that Elves, they don't care so much about one thing being countered, or they have so many different things that they're trying to do at the same time that if you take one piece out, it's not that big of a deal. You have to take multiple pieces out. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, it's probably close to 50-50. I'm trying to see where, like, its good matchup is going to be. And I just think it's, like, a fair... Huh?
Decks.
Monarch decks? Okay, I was thinking it was, like, just, like, a fair...
Monarch decks can't beat Lead the Stampede.
Like,
you just go fast enough that the Monarch decks don't really have time to, like, get their little engine going, you know? They just don't have time to fiddle around with, all right, play my Prophetic Prism, buy it back, play it again. And, you know, they kind of deal with your stuff early. And then, like, assuming you can get to 3 mana, you cast Lead the Stampede, you just are burying them in card advantage, and they just can't keep up. But that being said, though, Monarch can just have that draw where they're just like, I drew 2 Lightning Bolts and 3 Galvanic Blasts this game. And you're just like,
and Electrickery.
Yeah, and Electrickery. You have the random Monarch decks that are maining Electrickery still. So
that's true.
That's always just something you could run into. So
I'd have to think that because they're main decking it, that matchup must be bad enough that they're worried about it. And that's an indicator that,
sure,
yeah, Elves is favored there. So that backs up what you're saying.
Cool. Should we go to our last deck of our top 8?
Yes. It is Hexproof.
Yeah, those Bogleys.
This is one of the decks that I almost started running. Like, I don't think that I want, like, if you're like, I don't want to care about my opponent interacting, like, even with Burn, they can interact by bumping their life total, removing your creatures, countering your spells. Boggles, if you can resolve your spells, just doesn't care. So I imagine your Monarch matchup is going to be good. You want to dodge Tron, but you also have enough mana fixing stuff that in the board you can do something like Flaring Pain. You don't have any way to draw into it or dig, which is unfortunate. But your Burn matchup, I feel like you're fine playing against Burn. So
make it to turn 3.
Yeah, I'm
Armadillo Cloak on your guy. GG.
Yeah, I'm higher on Boggles than I have been in a while.
Yeah, same. Like you said, the Boros matchups, I'm assuming, is good. I know from the Delver side, the matchup's tricky. I think Boggles is favored, but, you know, Delver has all the tools, so it can still take the game. But, you know, Boggles is harder to interact with.
They need the tools to interact with it and the clock to close out the game. So
yeah, they need.
I think that makes Boggles probably favorite there. And so,
yeah, I agree. Of this list, the only decks that I really would not want to see if I'm Boggles are Elves and Tron. Other than that, like, I think I'm okay playing against almost anything else on this list.
Just the counterspell decks is what I would want to dodge more than anything. I guess Tron and counterspell decks, which Tron is also a counterspell deck.
And Elves. You're like 5% against that deck.
Really?
Oh, it's awful for the Boggles. They can't win.
Huh.
Like, the mirror match is basically like 2 Elves players going at it, but the difference is one player is playing Elves and the other player has a lot of really bad creatures in their deck. If that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I just feel like I could fix that in a sideboard. I could play like a Sheenan of Life's Roar.
What the heck is that?
Let me look it up.
What the heck are you saying? Those aren't words.
Sheenan of Life's Roar is old Stompy tech. It is a colorless and a green for a 1/2 spirit creature. It says all creatures able to block Sheenan of Life's Roar do so, and it has a channel cost of 2 and 2 green. So you can make 4, discard it, and make all creatures have to block 1 creature if able. So, well, I guess that's maybe not a good idea because they can tap all their creatures down. So
I can just tap all of my creatures, or I just like all my creatures that are tapping are making my other creature incredibly big.
Yeah,
I don't think that's good against Elves.
I
It's like
feel like
best case scenario, like they don't have a great start. They don't already have a 12-12 Vanguard. Just every time I have played the matchup, the elf deck just has this overwhelming inevitability. Like, I played a game with an opponent where he had like multiple armadillo cloaks on his creature. His creature was like an 18/18, gaining 36 life a turn. And I was just like, all right, I'll take it. Tap my Well-Wisher, untap my Well-Wisher, tap my Well-Wisher again. Like, I'm just like, all I got to do is draw Lead the Stampede or a Distant Melody or just Timberwatch Elf.
I just feel like Elves is easy enough to interact with that you can devote, like, you put some 4 gut shots in your sideboard and sure up your matchup there.
I don't even think that's enough, though. I really don't think that's enough. Because I think the Boggles players are already trying to do gut shots.
Yeah.
It's not enough. Like,
I'm saying I might take my chances with this deck this month. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. No, I think that's fair. Like, I'm not trying to argue that Boggles isn't in a good place. I think I said that at the beginning. I said there are only 2 decks on this list that I don't want to see, Elves and Tron. I'm just trying to convince you that Elves is a bad matchup.
Oh, I know it's a bad matchup.
You should play Boggles.
Right. I'm agreeing it's a bad matchup. I think that I can make it less bad. That's a possible thing I can do, where I have been trying to make the burn matchup with Delver less bad, and there's nothing I can do.
What I think is that you're going to play against Elves so rarely that you shouldn't waste the 2% gain you're going to get by putting bad cards in your sideboard for that matchup.
Quite frankly, I don't know how to. I mean, I've got 2 sideboard slots for relics against blue-black Delver, and I've got some artifact hate.
Relic comes in against like 70% of the format.
Right, yeah. So I have 2 slots used up there. I've got some slots against Boros Monarch.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and I've got plenty of slots to work with against like the 1 or 2 decks that I'm a little bit afraid of.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, if you think you've got space in the sideboard that doesn't need to go to other more important things,
right? I haven't looked into
Elves. Just might be your worst matchup in the format. So
yeah, and I don't see that often. If I do, I'm not chaining together Elves games like I am the other decks, and I need to shore those up.
Like my point is that the matchup is so bad that you're going to dedicate spots in your sideboard to shoring up the matchup, but you're really only going to be going from like, I'm probably exaggerating when I say it's like 5%. You're like 30% maybe. Your sideboard cards might get you to like 40, but you're just never going to you're going to play against Elves so rarely that I don't think it's even worth caring about.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just trust me. It's nothing feels better than being an Elf player and your opponent going turn 1 Slippery Boggle. You're just like, sweet, I got to buy this game. It's just a free win. Like, the Elf deck just has an insane amount of inevitability over the Boggles deck. Like, I guess like if they only draw 1 Well-Wisher and you gut shot it, you can race them. But
or I could just break out my Provoke / Sheenan of Life's Roar deck that it's just dedicated to doing those things. Do you remember when we played that in Common Coliseum?
Maybe.
You were like a bigger salt sandwich than you usually are.
Was this? I remember. Hey, you did your Flyers deck that kills Flyers. I remember that deck made me furious. You're just like, turn your guy into a Flyer, kill it. I'm like, what is happening?
It's the funniest deck I have ever brewed.
Skyshroud Archer is busted. That card is OP.
I don't remember which one that is.
Skyshroud Archer is the one that gets something flying or it shoots something with flying.
Oh, Skyshroud Archer is it taps to give a creature with flying -1/-1. Are you talking about the 1/1 that you can pay a blue and give something flying? Oh, you're talking about
Skyshroud Archer was in your deck, right?
Yes, it was. I just didn't think it was that good.
Yeah, it killed Spellstutter sprites.
Scattershot Archer does that way better.
Yeah, but Skyshroud Archer is a menace. It's like looking over Mordor. Have you seen that card's artwork?
Yes, I've played with the card.
Look up at the the sky in Mordor.
Yeah, there's like a mountain that there's like a river of glass coming out of it.
But yeah, no, the one that is tap for a blue give something flying, that card is a true menace.
Okay, we're way off topic.
Giving your opponent's creatures flying is the most busted thing you can do in Magic the Gathering.
There's not that many effects that do it because it's so broken. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Honorable mentions.
Yeah, that was our top 8. Let's talk about our couple honorable mentions that didn't make the top 8, but we still think are noteworthy.
I want to start with our second bullet point first.
Yeah, so do I. I was going to say, let's do those two first.
Okay, so we kept it at top 8. We're going to do the top 8, but the 9th and 10th place both had 12 points, and that is right before the drop-off. Like, we've got Morosatron at 25, then Blue Delver at 23, Boros Bully at 21, Elves at 17, Boggles at 15, and then White Black Pestilence and Affinity at 12. And then after the 12, it jumps down to 4. So I feel like that's like really where those are the relevant decks, I think. And then everything below that 12 points is like decks that you're going to see like once and shouldn't really care about. So I feel like we needed to include those.
Yeah, I felt like those were good honorable mentions. Like, they were both tied for 9th place. They missed top 8 by 3 points each. And I think they're solid choices right now. I think Affinity is a good choice, as I think it's in the same vein as like Elves and Boggles, as you're gonna win a lot of games off of the fact that your deck just does something so powerful and so consistent, and you're gonna lose a lot of games too because you're just gonna your deck's just gonna fall apart, or you're gonna get hit by sideboard hate or whatever, and
you're not gonna win your burn matchup very often.
Yeah. And White Black Pestilence, I don't know. I think the card Pestilence is just really good at the moment, and I don't think enough people play it. That card's just really powerful.
It just that kills. And the Guardian of the Guild packs, I think it has Guardian of the Guild packs and Monarch creatures. So there's a lot of like must answer spells, and then ways for it to drag out the game.
A lot of decks
respectable.
A lot of decks still try to play like Kumbaj Witches. I don't think that card's good right now. Maybe, I guess it's probably fine against like Monarch tokens, but I don't know. Cards like Chittering Rats and Pestilence are just better at doing what Kumbaj Witches does. Like, there's just not enough things in this format anymore that I care about dealing 1 damage to.
Yeah, that's
I
feel like since we've had Electrickery for so long, and our lives have been ruled by, Scred Delver just electrickerying people to death, that the format just evolved, and the only deck trying to do that anymore is Elves. And they are
Elves
just like
and Mono Blue. Like, any deck with Spellstutter Sprite in it, Kumbaj Witches is great, but
okay, yeah, Kumbaj Witches. Yeah.
Spellstutter Sprite's just not really a presence in this format really anymore outside of 1 deck, whereas in the past it was in all the Delver decks. Like, all Delver decks were defined by Spellstutter Sprites.
It was like
that's just not the case.
30% plus of all the matches you played are just going to have that card in it. So like the CMC on your spells mattered, and you wanted to be able to do 1 damage or 2 damage to something, and that's just not where we're at anymore. I don't think Kumbaj Witches is
well, and I think that's probably why Alex Ullman was saying, hey guys, break out your Spellstutter Sprites right now. That card's not on people's radar right now. So a lot of the things that made Spellstutter Sprite worse just kind of are gone because people aren't worrying about it. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions. There's a whole bunch of other decks that we're not really going to dive into tonight, but if you'd like to check them out, you can see them on the Patreon page, where Sean has the spreadsheet of all our power rankings.
Yeah, and I forgot to update it last month, but it is updated now. I don't think we mentioned that. We just wanted to mention that Blue Black Alchemy actually showed up, and I thought that deck was dead, and I still kind of think it's dead. I didn't think it would be able to show up at all.
It made 2 appearances, 2 top 32 appearances, had 4 points this month.
So they both top 32'd and nothing else.
Yeah, interesting. I thought it was interesting. I'm still not a big fan of this deck.
Yep. Scred Delver's still on 3 points as well.
Yeah, it had a top 8 this month.
Hmm.
One top 8. So someone's still going strong. Maybe I just need to do that. I just miss playing Scred Delver. I like that deck a lot.
Yeah, if like, it might be just one of those things where, like, if you have the reps, if you know what you're doing, it might just still
It
be
might be one.
serviceable.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we wrap everything up, should we choose our deck for next month's What Are We Playing segment?
Yeah, and this is life-changing stuff right
feel
here. Like, the choice I
like-
make here
I
is
feel
going
like
to
we
lock
should tell
me.
you here that you can't play Burn. You got to choose something else.
I need my format points.
I mean, you
That's
can
just
play Burn. You can play Burn, but you need to play something else on the side that you can educate us about.
sure.
You already
Fine.
educate us about Burn enough.
Yeah, that's because I play so many games with
I feel
it.
like you should pick up Boggles.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning towards. I want to do something really proactive. I'm enjoying that. I almost picked up Stompy, and then I kind of was running through matchups in my head and decided against it. So I
I
might,
think you should try Boggles.
yeah, I'll tune my own little Boggles list.
Because, I mean, like I said, I'm looking at this top 8 list, and I'm just like, I don't see very many matchups that you're really afraid of that are just, like, bad for you. And I know that you said, like, the counterspell matchups and Tron, but they don't always have it.
That's true, yeah. You just
You
need
know?
to get a little foot in the door, and
Yeah.
a lot of the time you're off to the races. I've played Boggles before. I part of this, like, we're gonna pick a deck a month and try that. Is I don't want to just do decks I've played before, because Red Deck Wins, Stompy, and Burn are like the meta decks that I'm really practiced with, and so I almost chose Boros Monarch.
Well,
But I know that. Huh?
I think that it's still all right to play decks like that, just because the format is very different right now. And
Yeah, than when I practiced. Yeah.
it would be good for you to kind of get a better grip on where those decks stand now, as opposed to where they stood, before.
Mhm.
Because this format was stagnant for a very long time. It's just Shred Delver was the thing. This was the way the format was. Spellster Sprite was everywhere. Whatever, we kind of knew how everything worked. And then Foil got printed, and the format is like is just totally different. And so I think if you want to play a deck like Stompy or Red Deck Wins, just to as a way to kill two birds, get your format points at the same time, and you're going to gain a lot of knowledge about where those decks stand in the current metagame, which will be useful for our listeners.
I know that I probably should just be playing Blue Black Delver, because, like, I had a lot of success with that deck in the short time that I played it. It's just that when I'm in a mirror match, those require the most knowledge of, like, getting little edges on your opponents. Those are really hard.
I can crush the friendly leagues with Blue Black Delver. As soon as I started playing competitive leagues with Blue Black Delver, I couldn't win because I just got outplayed in the mirror match, like all the time. Like, there are just so many good players playing that deck right now that it was just like, oh, you've got 16 trophies on the leaderboard right now? Sweet. I can't win this game. And they would just outplay me.
Yeah, whatever one I chose, if I chose one of those two, I feel like I would have to overboard, like, allocate more sideboard slots for the mirror match, because that's going to be one of my weaker matches, because I just don't know it. Like, I'm just jumping into the deck right now. Anyway, I think I'm going with the Bogeles.
The Boglies?
The Blobbles.
The slippery boys?
Yep. What are you going with?
I think I want to go with Boros Bully. I want to try to understand what is going on with that deck right now, because in my mind, I feel like it should be performing better than it is. I want to understand what I'm missing.
Okay. Any other thoughts? I went on for a while on my pick.
No. That's it. I want to understand why this deck's not as good as I think it is, and so I fully expect to just lose a lot. I'm curious about what the mirror match looks like. I'm assuming that Boros Monarch is the favorite in the mirror, and that might be one of the reasons why people are choosing to play it over the Bully, which I don't know. I feel like in the past I've said the opposite, that I felt like Boros
I
Bully
think you
was the
have.
favorite, but
Yeah, I don't know what's
now
going
that
on
I'm
there.
like, now that I'm thinking about it more, like I think I was just wrong then, but I want to figure that out. So I'm gonna play Boros Bully.
Okay. End times?
End times.
End times.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone so much for listening. That was Common Knowledge episode 59 with our February power rankings. If you would like to see all of the power rankings for yourself, you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/common knowledge, where Sean has the spreadsheet, the graph set up. That's something free that everyone has access to. And if you would like to support the show while you're there at Patreon, you can do so. You'll get access to the Common Coliseum. And we're working towards our first stretch goal, $50, which is our 5-card blind tournament. I know that we have had a few comments about people who are excited about this, but we haven't had anyone come out and say that they don't care or they want to do something different. So we're just going to kind of keep going forward with the 5-card blind tournament as the first stretch goal. Another thing that we're going to start doing for our patrons, do we want to talk about this? Are we ready to talk about this? I think we are. If you know what I'm talking about, because
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay. Because I didn't run this by you at the beginning of the show at all. I just started talking about this and was like, pump the brakes a bit. Well,
Okay.
maybe I should consult my co-host here. But all right, so we went off air for a little bit to kind of discuss the logistics of it. But I think we're ready to make this little announcement. And we're excited about this. This was actually a suggestion from one of our patrons, Johnny Barber. He's friend of the show. We love Johnny. Hi, Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
Hi. But his idea was to do a giveaway every month. And at the end of the month, we'd select one patron to receive a playset of each card we did for Card of the Week that month. So you kind of get just a little bit to add to your collection of Pauper in paper, your Pauper collection.
Yeah, just a little way to give back. Not much, but it's a good way to shout out some of our listeners.
And we wanted to shout out the patrons too and figure out a way to do that. And this is a good way to shout out a patron and kind of give them a cool perk for supporting us.
And little caveat, if we ever do something like Oubliette for Card of the Week, you're only getting one of those. You don't get a playset of Oubliettes. Unless they go down in price a lot.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see how gracious we're feeling.
I will never feel that gracious. Isn't that like over $100 just for the card?
It could be. Maybe that could be a stretch goal. Like if we hit enough money in a month to pay for a playset of Oubliettes, we will do Oubliette as Card of the Week and then give it away to one of our patrons. That could be our next stretch goal. $100. Stretch goal. If we make it, we're giving away a playset of Oubliettes.
Gosh.
So we're not gonna do that as Card of the Week until we hit that stretch goal.
It also has to be a relevant card, which is not looking like it is.
What do you mean?
Who plays Oubliette anymore?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah, that's like another reason we've never done it as Card of the Week. It's just so, I don't know, not really super relevant. Like you still see it from time to times in the mono blacklists and stuff, but
we need to sign these cards.
If they request it, we'll sign
them. No, we're just doing it. I don't care.
We're not signing the Oubliette though, unless they request it.
Heck yes, we are. If we're giving away a freaking Oubliette, everyone is gonna know where that came from.
Oh no! Do you know my Manamorphose, my foil Manamorphose? So, when I first started playing Modern, I was super excited about this Storm deck, and I first started playing Modern like right around the time Modern Masters 1 came out, and so I did a draft, and I kind of just found my way drafting the Storm deck without any idea of how Storm actually works. It was just like, oh, I had 2 Empty the Warrens and a Manamorphose and a bunch of rituals, and I had a Grape Shot. Cool, I guess we're playing Storm. And I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. So then the next couple drafts I did, I forced Storm. Like every draft, I just forced Storm. then John Finkel was playing Storm at GPs and on coverage, and I was just like, this is my deck. So I started building Storm, and what would happen is every time someone got a foil for that deck, they would trade it to me, but I would make them sign it. So I had like a signed foil Steam Vents. I've got signed foil Desperate Rituals. Rich signed my foil Manamorphose, which at the time a foil Manamorphose was only like $10. And Rich was like apprehensive about signing it. He's like, "Are you sure you want me to sign it? It's like $10."
Everybody was like, I don't know about this. And you're just like, just do it. Just
do you know how much foil Manamorphose is worth now?
With the signature?
Without the signature.
Without the signature, what is it?
It's like $40.
With the signature, like 20.
With the signature, probably worthless. Rich has a bad signature. It's not good. But for me, it's priceless.
Probably as much as a non-foil, then. Just like someone was just like, I just need the card. Anyway.
I actually did trade my foil Steam Vents at full price because someone just needed a foil Steam Vents. And I was just like, this isn't signed by the artist. This is signed by my friend Ian. And he's just like, I don't care. I need a foil Steam Vents. And I was just like, I mean, I don't know that I want to trade it for like damaged price. He's like, near mint. And I was just like, all right. I can't turn that down, I guess. So. Anyway, that's not Pauper.
But yeah, we will mail you cards that we've ruined. Okay.
I don't want to do that. If they request it, we'll do it.
Too bad, dude. Dude, we're celebrities.
No, we're not.
I'm declaring it.
Our presence reaches like 100 people on the internet.
It's more than that. It reaches 100 people on YouTube alone.
All right, maybe it's more than that. We're not. I'm not a celebrity. We're not celebrities.
All right, whatever.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but yeah, for serious. That's our stretch goal. So we got $50, 5-card blind, $100, giving away a play set of oubliettes to one lucky patron, and it could be signed to TBD. But
that's not. That's for $100. That's not the 5-card blind.
Yeah,
$50 5-card blind is $50, and we're giving away TCG player credit.
Yes, for that.
Not TCG player, MTGO traders. Said that wrong.
Yeah,
okay.
MTGO traders. Yeah, you'll get little coupon certificate codes for that. Yeah, if you don't know the rules to the 5-card blind tournament, if you're a newer listener, you can go to the Patreon page and find the rules there. Sean's laid it out. That's kind of exciting. So go check it out. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Email the show, commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com, where you can send us emails, and we'll usually read them on the show. And you can ask us questions, do all those things.
We also check the three most recent videos for YouTube comments. If there's anything relevant, we'll read it on the show.
And if you run into Sean, because you're not going to run into me for whatever reason, you'll play against Sean, give him a shout out, tell him hello. We appreciate that.
Yep, mention the podcast, we'll say your name on the air.
Yeah, we will. We'll just quick shout out to our sponsors, PureMTGO.com and InkGaming.com. You can get the 10% off your checkout at CCMTG10. And I've been seeing some advertisements for Ink Gaming on like my Facebook feed. They've got some cool playmats, like really cool playmats. So use that coupon code CCMTG10. You can get 10% off your order, and our network's going to get a kickback. So you get cool swag, we get support to help us.
Tiny bit of money.
Yeah, we get a tiny bit of money to go to making the network better. So. And lastly, where can the lovely listeners find us, Sean, if they would wish to do so?
You can find the podcast on Twitter at CKPodcastMTG. You can find me on Twitter at Lobbert8. That's spelled Lobbert and the number 8. You can find me on YouTube if you search for Lobbert. You can find Brandon at bclark_ck, spelled BCLARKE_CK.
Don't forget that silent.
Yeah, Clarky. We have a Facebook. If you search for Common Knowledge, everybody, if you apply, we are going to approve you. So
yeah, the only rule is just don't be a jerk. Just be a good person, and that's it. Come join our Facebook page and talk about Pauper with other people who like talking about Pauper.
Yep, I love screenshots of matches.
Yes.
The best.
Henry, you haven't posted screenshots in a while.
I haven't either.
That's probably because he's playing Arena. I actually do see him a lot on Twitter talking about Arena, so yeah, it's just the more evidence to my theory. Wizards is just killing all the formats except for Standard, so that you go play Arena.
They caught Henry. Bye.
Bye.